Yeah, no, I mean, with our shows generally, we tend to go through the journey, how you got
I
into
love it.
music, and then so we kind of build into that. And I know you've done other works outside of,
For
you work with
sure.
Maya Angelou and stuff. So at least we go through that journey and stuff. But we have an international audience, so it's always good to start from the beginning as to where you were sort of from and how you got into music.
Awesome. So, well, I'm from Philadelphia, born and raised. My parents are from Puerto Rico. I'm the first generation born in the US mainland. And I grew up in a pretty rough inner city neighborhood, Frankfurt, sort of like North Philly. If you've ever been to Philly, you would know it's one of the rougher neighborhoods. Even now it's ranked one of the top 10 worst neighborhoods in Philadelphia.
Wow.
And I was kind of like a quiet kid, a really nerdy kid. I was a straight A student. My mother was and still is blind. And my father was a career criminal, what's known as a lifetime offender.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been, God rest his soul. He was in and out of jail for multiple crimes, most of which he was guilty for. And, it was a pretty rough upbringing. My mother had the presence of mind to send us to Catholic school because it was the closest thing we can get to a private education outside of the, crumbling public school system. And I was a straight A student, never absent, never late. Not because I was so smart, but because I couldn't see either. Like I had to have surgeries on my eyes later in life. So I listened very well and I did all my homework in school so I wouldn't have to carry books home because I needed to run as fast as I could.
Wow.
And growing up in Philadelphia, you have a mixture of all the cultures clashing. Like, I lived in a Black neighborhood. My family's Puerto Rican, which also is mixed with Black, but that's a whole nother thing. There's culturally Latino, and then there's the mixtures of, I went to a school for high school, Central High School, which was one of the top, and still is one of the top city schools. It's a magnet school for college preparatory. And you see a lot of Asians and whites and Blacks, Latinos, all sorts of different cultures and religions all mixed together. Okay. So that was kind of a snapshot of what got me into music. I was actually kind of, I'll say late in the sense that I always kind of had an ear for music, but as far as wanting to do it as a career, I was in the delayed entry program in the military as well. Before they found out my vision was screwed up, they'll let you sign up when you're 17. And I signed up for carpentry masonry, even though I tested to be an officer. They said, oh, you could be an officer and sit behind a desk. A lot of people, I was also given, I say a lot of advice, which I didn't take. For instance, my school counselors in high school, they said, oh, you could be a lawyer, based on like the things that I was good at, language. I was really great with English and math. When I did that, I don't know if in England they have something different, but we have like the SATs.
Okay.
And it's kind of like, usually the men score higher in the math and women score higher in verbal, but I had like almost identical scores on both.
Okay.
So the last thing that I thought I was going to do before the music bug bit me, I thought I was going to be some kind of a computer engineer, because I was kind of into computers. This is many years ago, but I learned how to like plot and program, make a little video game using an old school floppy disk PC. And I like taking things apart. I was really technically oriented. But then my guidance counselors, when I was looking for scholarships when I was graduating, they said, okay, I'd gotten Ivy League scholarships for business at Wharton Business School, which interestingly enough is where Donald Trump went, and University of Penn. I did take some business administration courses, and then I eventually wound up accepting a scholarship to University of the Arts for jazz voice. But that was a couple of years after I had taken a hiatus and I was singing in the singing group. And my family thought I was crazy because they're like, you turned down Ivy League scholarships to sing with a street corner group? Are you nuts?
But why did you, what brought about this the decision to not pursue a career in education? But
at the time, right? At the time, my heart was really into the music. And before I got into the group that would be known as Yet, we were called As Yet Untitled. It was something that I would do after school. And I still had like my day job, and I was still pursuing my career, but you know, I agreed to give it some time because when you're young, you know, you have time and you think, okay, well, let's just try it. And we were winning a lot of competitions together. We were like getting a lot of local press and sponsorships and things, even as amateurs. So I saw it as a promising thing. This was
a different group.
No, this was, okay, this group had in it at the time some of the members who are now in the current As Yet. The current As Yet, the one you interviewed. So Claude Thomas, Deanna Allen, Kenny Terry, and Shawn Rivera, and Damon Core, who used to be a No Question, who passed away, God rest his soul. Dashawn Benson was in it as well after Damon Core. So in the current As Yet, you have Dion, Kenny, and Dashawn. Well, Dashawn left, and now it's Claude. So 3 out of those guys were in the group that I was in back in from, say, 98, 89, 90. And then I'd gotten a lot of scholarships and offers. And after a while, I got tired of turning them down because it just felt like, you know what, we're spinning our wheels here, and as great as we sound, and as much as my gut is telling me that we're good enough, and there was like a magic when we sang together, there's just, you know, talent is never enough. There's always a business aspect or a personal thing. And, you know, the resentment was growing where they didn't have a fallback plan or anything else going on other than music. So whenever something would happen for me, it seemed as though certain folks would take it as a threat to the group. Like I got offered a scholarship in Belgium overseas to do like an exchange student thing. And, you know, one of the guys was like, well, you're gonna be going for a year, you know, are you sure? You need to think about it, and, you know, tears and everything. So.
But at that time, because when you have the offers to sing and stuff like this, and you have the offers for school, was your dad still in the picture for him to, because I would have thought he would have been very much of a, you know, get into the university or.
My mother was actually the educator. She has a degree from Temple, as master's in education. She's also, you know, into everything from holistic medicine, nutrition, education. She taught at Headset and Get Start for the visually impaired. So she was the one who really pushed for education. But one thing I will say for my mother was that she was always about following your heart, about going with your gut. And, you know, sometimes our emotions can lead us astray, but there came a point when we, meaning As Yet Untitled, got offered a record deal with LaFace, and I was still at University of the Arts. And I spoke to the late, great Sean Dibler, who's my favorite music professor of all time. And he said to me, people go to school so that they can get an education, so they can earn a great job. This opportunity you have on the table may never come again, but you can always take a leave of absence. If you're not happy, come on back. So kudos to him for that offer. And I went out to California. I was the youngest in the group at the time by about 4 years. So, you know, I thought, oh, what do I have to lose? You know?
Yeah. So I think if we look at As Yet, how did you guys, so from your point of view, how did you guys all meet? Yeah, how did you meet them and things come together?
It takes at least 2 people to start a group, unless one person puts out an ad and says, I'm trying to build a group, whatever, a Shawn and the Shawnettes, who, you know, I wasn't taking auditions for the Shawnettes. So I used to live on Frankfurt Avenue, which is, what do you call it? It's like it's a commercial area, and an elevated train runs past the window, and I lived on top of a storefront. So can you imagine every day hearing the train going past your window? The station is at the corner. There's buses running down, and there's stores and everything. And every day on my way to school, I would get on the train platform, and I would hear this guy singing from down below in front of the storefronts. And one day, you know, when you're young and you're just cocky, and I'm like, what? This guy, in my mind, I mean, I honestly thought, this guy does not sound that good, but he's so confident. Why is he, like, I didn't have that kind of confidence, but somewhere in my heart, I was like, I could really sing better than this guy. And if he's got this kind of confidence, you know what? I'm just gonna go battle him. Don't ask me why, I swear I'm not like that, right? So I went up to him and I was like, oh, you think you can sing? And he was like, oh, you think you can sing, right? And we started singing back and forth, and a crowd of girls started standing, and that's why he loved to sing, because this is Dion. Dion loved to sing because he loved the attention and the girls and stuff, and, you know. And for me, it was like, wow, I'm getting out of my shell and I'm singing. This guy's like right here. We both kind of like became frenemies. You know what I'm saying? It was like, all right. And he was like, I didn't know Julio's could sing, right? And I was like, well, you know, I didn't know girls really like singing as much as they love your singing, man. Shoot, I can only imagine, right? So we start talking, and like I was still in gospel choir, right? But then at that time, Dion was in another group called Devious and Dangerous, and he was a DJ in this group called Devious and Dangerous. And I had got recruited when I sang that lead vocal, Open Our Eyes, in Central Gospel Choir. There was a gentleman named Ali Hyman who was a Temple student at the time. And Temple was right, I'm sorry, LaSalle. LaSalle University is right next door. Their campus is right next door to my high school. So he came over looking for members for his group, and he recruited me into his group, and his group at the time had Claude in it. The group was called Dimension in Sound, and Dimension in Sound had Claude Thomas in it. And pretty sure it was one of Al's cousins. This is so long ago. But to make a long story short, me and Dion got together and said, if we can get the best singers, like lead singers from other groups, you know, we want to put together a squad that has like every member, you know, can hold their own. And we like started this thing where he wanted to lead his group and I wanted to lead my group, but I took Claude. Well, I didn't take Claude. The way we framed the situation was, we're not, what do you call it? We're not leaving your group. You get to keep the name. We're not taking, the group is not leaving you. You know what I'm saying? You can keep the name Dimension and Sound and put your own members in. And me and Claude are going our own way, but we wish you the best. And me and Al have been friends ever since. He came to my wedding. We competed against each other in different groups. And then, so then it became me, Dion, and Claude. And then Damon, I met Damon Core, who was in No Question, which was signed to Philadelphia International. I met him way before then because his cousin sang in gospel choir. And his cousin said to me, oh, you think you can sing, wait till you meet my cousin. And this guy, I'm sorry, the guy's name was Shawn. I want to say Shawn Hankins. Another Shawn. So his cousin was the one who sang the duet with me in the gospel choir, the girl, Kadada Stringfield. Is Kadada Stribling? Kadada Stribling. Oh man, she was awesome. So we sang together. Her cousin brought this guy, Damon. And when I heard Damon, I was like, you know what? He can sing better than me. Let's put him in the group. I mean, straight up, he sounded like Donny Hathaway or somebody. Like, you know, somebody just has a natural tone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't even have to try. It just, you close your eyes and you heard magic, you know? So then it was us four. And then we went to this place called the Wyndham Franklin Plaza Hotel. I'm skipping a few years ahead because we had performed a lot of talent shows as four members for a while. Yeah. And then we would, you know, people came and went, but that four stayed together. But then Kenny Terry was in the bathroom at the Wyndham Franklin Plaza. He'd worked there and he was cleaning the bathroom. And we were at the hotel because they were doing like this music conference, and we were singing and trying to get ourselves noticed. And as we're in the bathroom, which is like the great place to rehearse and perform for the acoustics, right? We got to hear the echo. All of a sudden, we hear this big booming voice coming out, singing Patti LaBelle, right? But I mean, with a super high pitched voice, yelling in the men's bathroom, right? And we look down and we see like legs sticking out of the stall because he's 6'4", and this big dude comes out like, we're like, is that you? He's like, yeah. We're like, what the? This guy has mad range. So we're like, wait, you got a really low voice. Can you sing bass? And we just like tried him out right then. And we sounded so good in that bathroom that from that day, that he said, when I get off work, right? He went to go change his clothes, and we got back together and performed as 5 people at that hotel that he worked at. Wow. And we sang for like I'll Be Sure, Father MC, like all these artists at the time who were had their own labels, Andre Harrell, I mean, you name it. So it was one of those things where so many good things kept happening for the group because of our dedication, our work ethic. Like Dion used to make the clothes. Claude and I were both arrangers, but Claude was a little bit older than me, so he had more experience like recording himself. Like he had a little keyboard and he would record on like a 4-track cassette recorder. No, actually a double cassette where you bounce one to the other and it kept overlapping. So like, you know, we would bounce ideas off each other, and it was a great thing. So once we got that unit, that nucleus together, we spent about 6 years performing, competing from 89 to 95, roughly. There was some version of me, Claude, Dion, Kenny, And Damon was in for about 4 of those years. Dashawn was in for about 3 of those years. You know, like they were, for whatever reason, there's always that one rotating slot. It's just like any other group, like how, you know, New Edition had like Bobby Brown, but then they had Ralph Tresvant. Like you have that competing tenor sort of thing going on with a lot of groups. For whatever reason, I really believed that we were going to make it, even though all your friends tell you, oh, if you're going to make it, you'd have made it by now. Like, you stupid. You should have been done this and been done that.
But when you guys, so within those 6 years, what are you doing? Are you in school? Are you getting a job? What happened?
Well, I can't speak for everybody else.
Yeah, no, but for you. But yeah,
although I would love to. Okay. I was still in school. I had jobs after school. Like I used to work in restaurants. I worked in nightclubs, a lot of people places. And then even to the point where like, I worked at a nightclub once downtown for a while called the Cat Club. And the Cat Club had a room in the back, like a VIP lounge. And I got our group booked in the place. So I would work as a bar back and then go change my clothes, then hop on stage and sing with them, and then put my uniform back on and close the night out. And you know, like I would always, like I was in school, I was taking classes at University of Arts, and like the jazz voice, but it's not, how can I explain this? It's not a school like most art schools, it's a university. So you still have to take like languages and, you know, math, arts and sciences, you have to pre-qualify because it's an accredited university. It's not like, oh, I'm just taking like some classes on the side. So it's really intense. And the only reason that I didn't graduate was because I took that record deal in California. But for that time that we were together, we did like the Chorus Light talent competition they had, and they had like we did shows in Jersey and DC, New York. We went up to the Apollo, the real Apollo as amateurs, and then again as professionals. We rehearsed a lot. Like we would sit together in a circle and stare up at the ceiling and sing. And then my aunt would cook rice and beans. And you know, like she knew us like family, so she didn't mind she just loved to hear the sound of us all singing together. And then on the side, you know, everybody did whatever they did.
But then in your mind, back in those early 90s or so, when the emergence of groups, you know, on the radio and stuff, and I'm sure Boys to Men from Philly, did you then think if they can make it, we can make it? What was in your mind?
You know what? Honestly, when Boys to Men, we knew Boys to Men because we had appeared, we appeared at locations they were at. So we'd seen them perform, we'd heard about them. They were from Philly before they got the record deal. And, you know, they were good. They were always good. Most of the groups in Philly, which there were a lot of groups, like Image, Quarter to Midnight, you know, As Yet, Untitled, you know, Boys to Men, Voices of Theory. There's a lot of groups I'm leaving out, but the thing was, many of them seemed to give up when Boys to Men got their deal because it seemed like the chances of getting another group from Philly so soon, right after it took so many years for one group to come out of Philly. Like it'd been a while since the Philly International heyday. So I think a lot of groups got discouraged, but again, I'm not in those groups. It just seemed as though a lot of groups gave up. But to tell you the truth, we really did know that we were at least as good. It wouldn't be a fair comparison because it's 5-on-4, but we thought, you know, if they can get a deal, yes, we can get a deal, absolutely. But we never compared ourselves to them. The industry did that. We wanted to go in a different direction. Like they had a unique sound and they're cool, like the Cooley High Harmony and all that. Are you kidding me? We used to sing their songs. We used to sing their songs all the time because why not? And we'd add a little fifth harmony to it. Great. We were all influenced by the same kind of musical background. However, I think we wanted to go in a different direction creatively, but the label, thank goodness for LaFace Records, believing in us, the marketing aspect was a lot easier to say, hey, look, we're looking for a group to be a competition for Boys to Men because they're hot right now. And that's what labels do. They say, who's hot right now? Let's find, you know, the answer to that, or the foil, the nemesis. So they pitted us against each other when we really were always friends.
Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.